All right, thank you very much. You guys all hear me all right? Cool. So if Woo Things are putting the entire 30 million they got from Automatic on the bar tonight, I might sing the Cadbury jingle for you. Quick show of hands in the room, who here builds websites for clients using WordPress in a consulting kind of role? Cool, okay. Who here just uses WordPress to run a blog and to make money out of their blog? Run a blog, make money out of their blog? Okay. Who here uses WordPress to just post photos of their kids and their cats? Oh no, that's right, that's Facebook, isn't it? That's right. Okay, so today we're going to walk through the recurring revenue roadmap, and I'll show you how you can actually put a very simple system in place to generate some recurring revenue in your business, and I'll hopefully make a case for why that's a good thing to do. But first of all, I'd like to start with a short story. The heroine of our story is a girl named Katie, who is here with her very annoying looking boyfriend, having breakfast. And all the ingredients that Katie's prepared for breakfast this particular morning were delivered yesterday by Aussie Farmers Direct. She gets a box delivered to the house. Does anyone know Aussie Farmers Direct? Anyone here have Aussie Farmers Direct delivered to the house? Cool. This is Katie. Believe it or not, it's the same girl. She's just had a bit of a shower and woken up and undergone a bit of a transformation, but she's now on a tram going to work. And in Melbourne, when you use public transport, you access public transport by this thing called a MyKey, which automatically tops up when your balance gets low. Katie's now at work and she's having a bit of a chin wag to one of her colleagues, and of course one of the first things you do when you get to work before you do any work is you go and get a coffee, and at Katie's work they have an Illy pod machine that gets restocked every week with an automated delivery to stock up on the pods that they've used. And this is the invoice here, which shows buying the coffee pod machine and then the recurring items that come every week at the bottom there. Then she goes back to her desk and, then she goes grabs some fruit, which is delivered by the Fruit Box, which again is a corporate service that delivers fruit to her workplace every day. And then she goes back to her desk and logs onto Spotify, and of course there are no ads because they have a premium Spotify subscription. Anyone use Spotify? Anyone, keep your hand up if you use premium Spotify. Okay. Anyone use RDO? Yes, early adopters. Eh? Okay, then part of her job, Katie works in advertising, part of her job is to spend exorbitant amounts of money at iStock Photo, buying cheesy stock images for her clients, and they're on a monthly top-up there. I no longer use iStock. All these images have come from the web and from Big Stock Photo. You can have that one. Then Katie gets some lunch, which is delivered by this company called City Lunch Club, and they deliver curated lunches from the top restaurants around New York City delivered every day to her office. And then after lunch, she goes back and orders some copywriting for one of her clients using some credits that she's bought with this company called snapcopy.co, who are a company owned by copy hackers. And every month she orders copywriting and then the credits automatically top up. After work, Katie goes to a yoga class, which is included as part of her K-Fit membership. That's a true story. K-Fit is a fitness and wellness membership card that you can buy, and then you can jump online and book whatever you want to book with any of their participating outlets, whether it's a yoga class or a swimming school or a gym. After yoga, Katie goes home and does some personal grooming because she's got a very important event coming up that night. And of course, these razors are delivered to her house every week, every month, I should say, from a... I don't want to insinuate that Katie has any kind of extra personal hygiene needs. From a company called Shave Mob, who deliver her razors to her house every month. She doesn't have to think about it. And then she tries on a dress and picks out her favourite dress from a package of designer dresses that have been delivered to her house from a company called the Ms. Collection. And whatever she chooses to keep, she can buy at a discounted retail price. Whatever she doesn't want to keep, she simply sends back. Then after the event, she goes home and snuggles on the couch with her very annoying looking boyfriend and watches a bit of Netflix to unwind before she goes to bed. And this is all organised for her. It's all organised for her through her virtual assistant at a company called Zirtual, who are US-based virtual assistants that, you guessed it, she pays a monthly recurring revenue subscription to have an assistant help her organise her life. So welcome to the subscription economy. Everything that Katie's done throughout the day has been paid for using recurring revenue, and that's exactly what I want to talk to you about today. There's a couple of factors that I believe are converging that make the subscription economy, that make the timing right for the subscription economy, and that make recurring revenue really important right now. David Skock from 4entrepreneurs.com recently said this: "I've watched several hundred businesses fail because they have not found a way to acquire customers at a low enough cost." And here's the thing about recurring revenue. See, the biggest cost in your business besides staff and rent, if you're at that point, will be acquiring a new customer. It's timely, it costs money to get new customers to trust you enough to give you money for your products or services. Once you've got that customer, it's a lot easier and a lot cheaper to get them to keep spending money with you. From a technology point of view, it's now easier than ever to create recurring revenue from anywhere you are. Anywhere you've got an internet connection, you can create and manage recurring revenue. And from a social point of view, the way that we communicate and the way that we purchase, as I've just demonstrated through Katie's story, has changed forever. So you walk down Chapel Street in Melbourne now and you just see shop after shop after shop being converted into a cafe. Clothing boutiques, record stores, bookstores, every other form of shop is just closing down and they're being replaced by cafes. Cafes are where people go to connect and to talk and to socialise, but products and services that are commodities or are tangible things that you can buy, they can pretty much be bought online, delivered to your house. So that the economy is changing in a big way. These are some old business models that have done recurring revenue for years and we've never questioned them. Private health. Who was the first person to say, well, private health needs to be paid for monthly? That wasn't a law that was passed, it was some creative entrepreneur that was thinking outside the box that discovered a business model, marketed in a way that made sense to us, and we have bought it, some of us have bought it, hook, line and sinker. Mobile phones are the same. Who says that we have to keep paying just to use data every month? They do, and we've bought it. Why? Because the value that we're getting from them sometimes far outweighs the money that we're giving them every month. Netflix. Thank God entertainment is now on demand. I don't have to go and buy CDs. That is a complete waste of plastic. I don't have to go to, buy DVDs. I've got entertainment when I want it, where I want it. I can watch exactly what I want. And, thankfully, I hope no one's here from Foxtel, but we can say goodbye to that business model very quickly. Some new business models that are moving towards recurring revenue. FlexiCar. Has anyone read a book called Hot, Flat and Crowded by Thomas Friedman? No? It's a fantastic book. I strongly suggest to read it. It's not easy, it's thick and it's dense and it's really sophisticated and complex. But one of the ideas that he poses in that book is that car ownership will become a thing of the past. And I believe that Google Ventures and Uber will be the first ones to provide a subscription service to a driverless car. And I hope it happens in my lifetime. I'll be the first one to sign up. So FlexiCar is a great business model. You pay about $80 a year to be a member, to then have the privilege of hiring their cars when you need them. Think about that. You pay them to be a member to then buy their services. It's a really good business model. You can just edit that out, right? Razors are a grudge buy. Like seriously, I was in the supermarket the other day and I was trying to buy toothpaste and I almost had a panic attack. I was like, I just want a tube of paste I can put on a brush and clean my teeth. What the hell is all this other stuff? Like there are so many choices. It's the same with razors. Who seriously enjoys going to buy razors? Put your hand up. Thank you. So now you just get them delivered to your house. Nobody actually men's business shirts are the same thing. Very few men enjoy going and buying a business shirt, but it's something you have to buy as part of, if you work in corporate. And one of my favourite case studies, Michelle Bridges, from personal trainer to $67 million a year in revenue. I'll say that again, from personal trainer to $67 million a year in revenue. And a large portion of that comes from her 12-week body transformation, which is an online course, basically a home study course delivered via the internet on a recurring revenue basis. So the recurring revenue movement is upon us. Last week in San Francisco, there was a conference called Subscribed that was run by a company called Zura. Zura is basically a subscription plugin for Salesforce. So it's like what Brent Shepard's done with WooCommerce for Salesforce at the enterprise level. They ran a conference called Subscribe. 36 speakers from some of the largest companies in the world, including Zendesk, were at this conference to present to over 2,500 people about the subscription economy. So today I want to show you a very practical way that you can create recurring revenue without the overwhelm of building complete new products from scratch. Because I promise you, in most of your businesses right now, there are opportunities for recurring revenue that you just may be missing. So I've done this. I've gone from client services to 100% recurring revenue over about a 12 to 18 month period. And we proved the market existed before we built anything, which is the last part of this framework that I'm going to show you, which is my favourite bit. Because I get bored really quickly and I don't want to waste a lot of time doing something that's not going to pay off, we managed to prove that there was a market for what we were going to do before we actually did it. That's who I am. You can stalk me on Twitter at Troy Dean if you like. You might also know me as Bronson introduced me. I'm the host of a podcast called WP Elevation, where I'm very fortunate that I get to talk to amazing entrepreneurs from all over the world about being an entrepreneur and a freelancer, some in the WordPress space, but also a lot of entrepreneurs outside the WordPress space. These are just a couple of bragging screenshots when we happened to rank pretty well on iTunes, and I felt good about it, so I took some screenshots. There we are, up with Seth Godin and Pat Flynn and Tim Ferriss. And also I'm the voice of the Video User Manuals plugin. Any Video User Manuals plugin customers here today? Cool. So I'm the voice of the Video User Manuals plugin and co-founder of that business, which was really our foray into recurring revenue. That's the first time. I remember the first time we made a sale on Video User Manuals. I woke up in the morning, and back in the day when I used to check my phone all the time when I woke up in the morning, of course I don't do that anymore. But we'd made a sale overnight, and I remember sitting up in bed going, oh my God, I just made money while I was asleep. It's an incredible feeling. I know that might sound a bit crass, but coming from just doing client services and chasing clients, doing the job, getting paid, chasing the next client, to actually have some recurring revenue come in while I was actually sleeping was an amazing feeling. And yes, I did actually sing the Cadbury jingle, and I can't remember which version of this presentation it is, but this might be, is sound hooked up to this thing? Oh, thank you very much. So now I don't have to do it tonight, right? Okay, but I actually think what I bring to the table here is 8 years of split testing. I've tested everything, so what I really want to do is just show you now what works. Some of the benefits of recurring revenue for us: predictable cash flow, so we know what our business looks like every month. We can plan for growth. We can actually say, well, yes, we can hire someone in 3 months' time because we know what our cash flow is going to be. We have loyal customers. Recurring revenue means that customers are interacting with your brand every day, week, month, year. So there's a recurring relationship going on there and a deeper engagement with those customers. Steady income, so you can be away from the business and still have income coming in. And you can be location independent. I'm technically location independent. I just happen to work in Melbourne because I think it's probably the best place in the world to live. But I could pretty much work from anywhere, and I have. I've worked from the US, and I've worked from Asia. I've worked from a little hotel room in Leiden in the Netherlands when I was over there for WordCamp Europe. As long as I've got an internet connection, I can add some value to my business. But I think one of the most important benefits, certainly for me in our business of having a recurring revenue, is that it enables you to impact more people. And the other day I was very fortunate to interview one of my heroes on our podcast, a man by the name of Seth Godin, who this will be published in the next 5 to 6 weeks. But I was very fortunate to have some time with Seth on our podcast and one of our WP Elevation members. And he said, we were talking about growth and more, and he said, why do you always want more? Why do people always want more? Why not just have better connections and deeper relationships with the right customers? So if you want more customers, recurring revenue is great. If you just want more meaningful relationships with the right customers and you want to sack the bottom 20% of customers that you don't want, then recurring revenue will also allow you to do that. So you can impact the right people. Now, before I hear you say this won't work in my business, here are some business models where this has worked. It's worked in the pizza in New York City. There's a pizza shop where you pay $20 a month to be a member for the privilege of then buying members-only pizzas, which are the most expensive pizzas on the menu. Great business model. Menswear, we've seen that with the Mr. Collection. You have men's designer menswear delivered to your house every month. You keep what you want, you send back what you don't. Razors, as we've seen, web design, accountants, guitar teachers, cars, heavy machinery. At the Subscribed conference last week, there was a CEO from a heavy machinery company. They rent out tractors and excavators, and they're moving their business towards digital subscription of credits. So you buy a number of credits per year and you redeem those credits to hire tractors and excavators. So if it can work in heavy machinery and pizza, I reckon it can work in just about any business model. In fact, we're at an event on Wednesday in Melbourne, and I said, I think the only business this might not work in is like, I don't know, high-end, really expensive artwork. And someone put their hand up and said, oh, actually, I'm building a website at the moment for a client who rents out really expensive artwork. So it'll probably work in just about any business. So you can always find an excuse. I would just encourage you to, put your preconceptions aside and find a reason to actually take some action. So today's all about you. I want you guys to think about how you can apply this stuff to your business. And there is a bit of content to get through here, so if you give me permission, I'm going to skip through it pretty quickly, but I will make the slides available afterwards. And of course, there is a recording you can revisit as well. Cool. So this is the recurring revenue roadmap. I like to break things down into frameworks, just because I've got a kind of a systematic brain, and I like to be able to peg things on chapters. So I've broken this down into the 6 Ps of recurring revenue. And the first one is all about people. So ask yourself, you've got to know your peeps. Ask yourself, who is it in your business that is the most likely to buy something on a repetitive basis? So if you're in the hosting business, that's really obvious. People who host websites. If you're in the web design business and you do a bit of marketing consulting, maybe it's email campaigns. Someone sending an email campaign every month. If it is, if you're a web designer and you do a bit of marketing strategy and people are always ringing you up for advice, there's something that you might be able to monetize into a recurring revenue stream. So think about those clients that you're interacting with on a regular basis. We've developed something that we call an avatar card in our business, and this is a guy called WordPress-Matt, and he's the perfect client for WP Elevation, our podcast and our training program. And so, has anyone got one of these printed out in their business, by the way, that they use? Yeah, of course you do. Anyone else got one of these printed out that they share with their team members? Yeah, a couple of hands going up. So I think this really helped us focus in our business in terms of what we should be doing next, because we know exactly who it is we're talking to. WordPress-Matt is the guy who is most, and he is a guy, 73% of our audience are male, and he's most likely to buy our products on a recurring basis. I'll show you a format in a minute, a formula in a minute as to how to develop this avatar, and I'll give you a couple of ideas for some tools that you can get online to help you do this. I promise you this is boring work. It's not sexy, and it seems like, a pain in the neck and something that's like a bit of a grade school exercise. But if you do this, it makes every other decision in your business a lot easier. Now, we still do get distracted by opportunities and shiny widgets, but we keep coming back to what is right for WordPress-Matt. So Matt's a 33-year-old WordPress developer who's got a young family. That's a big motivator for him. He really wants to be location independent. He wants to get rid of the clients who are a pain in the neck, and he wants to have more control over his business. So everything we do at WP Elevation is driven for Matt. We are here to serve Matt and help him build his business. Here's a company called Help Scout. Anyone use Help Scout? Okay, so Help Scout's an email ticketing support software program, and these guys have developed 2 avatars in their business, Growth Graham and Help Desk Heidi. And these are the avatars they've developed. And then this is how they use those avatars in their business. They've got a little phrase for their 2 avatars. So Help Desk Heidi is meet the world's first invisible help desk. That's what's really important to her. And Growth Graham, don't let another email slip through the cracks. So they take what's important to their avatars and they feed it back to the community in their marketing messages, in their sales copy, in the kind of guests they have on their podcasts. Everything they do is designed to help these 2 people. Does that make sense? Cool. So 2 resources to help you develop your own avatar. And I promise you, again, I know it's not sexy work. and it feels a bit like a grade school exercise, but I promise you if you spend half an hour or 45 minutes developing an avatar, it will really help you get clear about the other decisions that you need to make in your business. Duct Tape Marketing is a great book by John Jansch, and in this very practical book, he gives this great framework for developing an avatar. The physical description, which could just be a 33-year-old WordPress developer, what they want a stress-free business and they want to be location independent. Their biggest problem is that they're fighting pricing in the WordPress space. So they're constantly negotiating and discounting on price to get the gig. How they buy, in our case, they buy online. And the best way to communicate, in our case, is through blogs and podcasting. Yeah? So that equals your perfect client. So a very simple framework there. And there's another tool I'll give you here at HubSpot. They have this a free client avatar resource template that you can download and fill in, which will hopefully give you a bit of a head start. Okay, so know your peeps. Once you know your peeps, then you've got to work out what you got. What's the product? What is it that you can sell these people on a recurring basis? Let me give you a couple of ideas about product. This is a one-page product overview we have in our business. Again, not sexy, but essential so that everyone in the organisation can communicate to your target market what it is you've got. So hopefully if anyone gets on an email ticket with one of our staff and asks questions about WP Elevation, they get the right answer because people in our organisation know what's included, what's not, how it works, and what type of product it is. And this can be reflected in a number of different ways. You can just have a one-pager here. You can have it on a website. Dan Norris at WP Curve's got a great homepage. Anyone use WP Curve? It's a fantastic service and Dan's a great entrepreneur. He was at our event on Wednesday in Melbourne and he spoke. And I just love the way he approaches everything. And their homepage is essentially a one-page product overview. It's very clear of what's included, what's not, and how it works and who it's for. So if you can communicate exactly what your product does in one page, if you need more than one page to do it, then you need to do some work on that product overview and simplify it down. Here's an accounting firm in Melbourne that have subscription plans. So instead of spending $2,500 on an invoice 5 times a year, you just give them $1,000 a month and you're on a subscription plan and you get all this support. And so what they've done is gone through all the line items, all the individual services that you can buy from them and package them up into a product that you can buy. And the thing I like about products is that it's much easier for a customer to understand what they're buying than looking through a list of services and going, well, how much is that and when do I need that? And a BAS statement's every 3 months and that costs this. This is much easier for the customer to manage and it's much easier for the company to manage in terms of cash flow and invoicing and admin cost. So they've just listed out everything that's in that product and then given it a name and given it a price. Unbounce, again, great landing page building software, and this homepage again is a really good example of what to include in a one-page product overview. Okay, so the things that you want to think about when you develop your product is the category of the product. What is it? Is it software? Is it training? Is it a plugin? Is it a theme? Is it consulting? Is it marketing? Is it service as a product like WP Curve? Is it copywriting? What's the actual category of the product? What are the components? What's included? So is it hosting? Well, what's included in hosting? Bandwidth, storage, all that kind of stuff. And how does it work? How does the customer actually buy it? Some examples, specifically for you guys. Hosting, maintenance, website maintenance, ongoing maintenance, support, content management. Even though it's built on WordPress, a lot of clients just don't want to do their own content management. They want help with it. Email campaigns, not just email templates or email marketing design, but actually writing email campaigns for customers. Webinars, advice. I guarantee you're all giving away way too much advice for free to clients and you should be thinking about how you can package that up into some kind of ongoing strategy consulting. Affiliate product, which could just be hosting or MailChimp or those kinds of things. Memberships. Credits, like we saw with snapcopy.co. So a customer buys a certain amount of credits per month. They roll over each month and they can use those credits for your services. And credits have a life of 12 months, so they have to use them within a 12-month period. That's a really good credit model that works. Snapcopy.co is an example of credits. Information and insights, online courses are probably the lowest hanging fruit in any business. The point is, whatever product you design, it needs to add recurring value to your customers. That's how you get recurring revenue, to continually add value to your customers. So you've got to know what you got. Then you've got to package it up in a way that answers this question. Anyone know what this stands for? WIIFM. Apparently it's the world's most famous radio station. Yeah. What's in it for me? Yeah. So no one really cares about your product. They only care about how it's going to benefit them. So you just need to get a really good understanding of how your product benefits your customer and communicate that to them. So what are the benefits? They don't want to know technical features. Like, no one really wants to know how we build the video user manuals plugin and where it's hosted. No one really cares. What they want to know is that their customers are going to stop ringing them, asking them stupid questions about WordPress. That's the benefit. Here's a great example from Mailbox, which is a mail app from Dropbox. So the first thing you see on their website is fly through your email. Now that's appealing, isn't it? I don't even know how it works at this stage, but I'm interested because, yes, I want to fly through my email. Zirtual's another good example. Work-life balanced. Done. Cool. Taken care of. I don't even know how it works. I don't even know what the product is, but work-life balanced. And Your Ride on Demand. Uber, another great example. Your Ride on Demand. That sounds sweet. I'm not even sure how this works. I don't even know what it is at this point, but all I know is that it appeals to me because that's a benefit, not a feature. All right. So quick little explanation of value stacking. And I'm going to try and skip through this because we are running on a tight time schedule. But value stacking is basically where you list, once you've communicated a benefit, you then list all of the value that's in that product. And you kind of work out what the value of each line item is. And if the price is less than the value, it makes sense to the customer to buy it. Because here's the thing about value. If a customer is giving you more money than the perceived value they're getting, they see it as an expense. If they perceive that they're getting more value than they're giving you in terms of money, then they see it as an investment. So your job is to work out what the value is of the product and don't ask them for as much, if that makes sense. And then crafting the offer. How do you craft the offer in a way that's really easy and simple to understand? And I love what these guys do at Lead Chat. Their offer is get more leads, triple the amount of conversions from your hard-earned ad traffic. I don't even know what they do. Well, I actually do, but at this point I don't. What they do is they put a little live chat widget on your website and they monitor it with real people 24/7. But their offer is triple your conversions from your hard-earned ad traffic. Really simple to understand. And I think the most important thing is you've got to know why you're doing this. You've got to know why the product is important and why it exists. For us, why we get out of bed every morning is to help WordPress Matt build the business he needs to support his lifestyle. That's what makes us tick. Revenue is just not enough. Revenue is not enough to sustain an idea. You need to have a bigger story of why. If you need some help with that, I strongly recommend you read this book by Simon Sinek. Anyone read that book, Start With Why? It's a great book. It's a quick read too. Okay, very quickly, packaging. How do you package this up? Sorry, that was packaging. Process. So what are the processes you're going to need to deliver this? And this is where you can... This is the difference between having something that's sustainable and having something that will overwhelm you, right? And again, not sexy, might be a little bit boring, especially at, whatever time it is on a Saturday morning, but it's critical that you get this right because you need to be able to deliver this stuff and make it profitable and sustainable. So for us, we have just a very simple document that says and this is not it, this is the start of it, all the procedures that we need in our business to deliver WP Elevation, the podcast and the training program. And a procedures document is just really simply, well, what needs to happen? What's the procedure called? And what's the outcome of that procedure? Once you've got all these documented, I'll then show you how you can use some tools and technology and the team to automate it. So document the procedures and then use technology and people to drive them. So these are some of the procedures you'll need. How does someone buy it? What's the sales procedure? What's the onboarding process? How does someone actually get up and start using the product? When you buy video user manuals, within a couple of minutes, you've got an email with a link to download it and a serial number. Very clever piece of technology that Ben May, sitting over here, made happen. I have no idea how it works, but thankfully he does, because otherwise people would be emailing me, asking me, hey, where's my thing? I have no idea. Ben makes that happen. I think, is that you? Support, how do you handle support? Do you do that through a support desk or through email or telephone? How do you handle reporting? So just a brain dump of all the procedures you might need and what each of those procedures actually does. And then think about to keep it profitable, the tools and the team that you're going to need to deliver it, because you don't want to be the one doing everything. So the tools and the team for us are just simply all the tools we need on the left and then the team that are going to drive those systems on the right. And then we just go through, systematically delegate. Wherever we can remove a human, we try to, because it makes it quicker and more reliable and scalable. And then when a human needs to drive a process, we train them how to drive that process. This is an example of using technology to automate a sales process, putting a live chat widget on your website with 24/7 humans monitoring it. So that's an automated process, and they are actually humans monitoring it. That's tools and team to help automate and optimize your sales process. So some of the procedures that you can optimize: sales and marketing, customer service, server admin, shipping and returns. How does that work? That can be something that can be really expensive and costly for an e-commerce store. How does shipping and returns work? Accounting, how does that work? Bookkeeping. So your profit plan is a very simple document that just itemizes the tools and the team you're going to need to deliver those procedures. All right, now I'm going to very quickly skip through this last section because this presentation is obviously way too long for the time I had. It worked on an 8-hour presentation I did the other day. Why does an 8-hour workshop go down to 45 minutes? Okay, so how do you prove this is going to work before you sell it? So I'm a big fan of build what you know you can sell. Otherwise, it's just too hard to try and sell something you thought was a good idea. So this is what we did in WP Elevation. We put our business into business laboratory mode, where we just kind of experimented. And we could afford to do that because we had some recurring revenue from video user manuals. So we ask ourselves these 4 questions. Do we have a problem worth solving? Does our message match the market? Will people pay? And what's the riskiest assumption? In our case, we did have a problem worth solving. We proved that because we found that others are doing it. In this example, a dance class membership, if this is the problem you think you've got worth solving, you Google dance class membership and you find this company called KFit who are buying AdWords to sell a dance class membership. So that's a big indicator that the market is profitable if someone's already buying ads for that particular niche. In the accounting space, these guys are already doing it. So if I was an accountant, I'd be going, yep, this is a problem worth solving. Others are actually investing money in this already. Get out of the building, go to some meetups and talk to real people. This is what we actually went and spoke to our customers and asked them what they wanted, and they helped us design the product before we sold it. So I'm going to give you the worst business advice ever. At some point you need to go with your gut instinct. But fortunately, there's a feedback loop you can go through to quantify whether your gut instinct is right. And the easiest way to understand whether or not your message matches the market is to just drive some ads on Facebook, find your audience, drive some ads on Facebook to a landing page and see if people convert, see if people want to get notified, see if people actually want to sign up for your service before you've even got it on sale. You all know what a landing page looks like. Here are a couple of examples. Here's a girl that coaches singing lessons, gives away singing lessons online. And this is a landing page that she's driving Facebook ads to. Here's another landing page for a restaurant menu company. Landing page just quantifies whether or not people want to get notified about your service. Once you've collected some email addresses, actually ask them, if we build this, will you pay? We had about half a dozen conversations on Skype with our customers before we built WP Elevation and said, if I go build this and it includes this, this, this and this and it's priced at this, will you buy it in 2 weeks' time? And they said yes. And I said, great, I'm coming to get you. So we went and built it, we went back and we opened the doors and we made some sales and we were up and about. So at some point you have to make them an offer. Talk to potential customers and give them the concierge version. Do it manually to start with, hands-on. Take them through the process and then work out the tools and the technology that you might want to use to help optimize it and run it at a profit. Ask for the order. This is what we did with an event we ran last week in Melbourne. We actually sold an event before we'd booked a venue. Risky, don't do that, it's very stressful. We managed to pull it off. And so here are some of the riskiest assumptions. Is the market size big enough? Do they trust you enough to subscribe to your product? Can you make it profitable? And then every step along the way, try and mitigate the risk. And so in our example, our risk was, will they pay for information that's freely available? My theory was we could synthesize the information and bring it in one place. And so what we did is we basically sold a webinar before we'd built it. We sold tickets to a webinar, and then once we'd sold enough tickets, we went and built the webinar, and then we had a conversation with attendees afterwards, and they said, yes, we love this, we want to do it more. We had a couple of Skype calls. We had a 4-day launch, we sold 55 memberships and we were up and about. So they're the 4 questions you need to answer to prove whether or not you've got an idea before you waste a lot of time building something that nobody's going to buy. And I think that might be it. We've got about 2 minutes and 23 seconds for questions. Any questions? I'm going to be around for most of today, so if you do have a question later, you can come chat with me. Yes, question up there? Sure. So the question is it about productization, and what's the experience with doing this with services? Dan at WP Curve's a great example of how you can do this with services. I'd also look at the snapcopy.co example where you can do this with copywriting services on a credit scheme. But essentially what you're doing is you're taking a service and packaging it up as a product that somebody can buy off the shelf. It's just a repackaging of something that you're probably already doing. Does that make sense? Cool. Any other couple of final questions? Yes, one here. That's all right, I'll repeat the question.
Okay. So you've travelled probably a lot more than me, and you've talked to lots of different people from all different places that do WordPress. Can you make any kind of comment on WordPress in Brisbane and where you see gaps or what we're doing well?
I personally, so the question is, can I comment on, if there are any gaps in the WordPress Brisbane market? I'm not the best person to ask, definitely, but Bronson and Lockie, and who else is here from Brisbane? Tracy. So the Tracys, Bronson, Lockie, they would be the best person to speak to because they know the Brisbane scene much more than I do. Yes, here.
In regards to subscription models, do you find there's still resistance more in the business-to-business market compared to consumer?
Yeah, it's a good question. So is there resistance to subscription in the business-to-business market versus the business-to-consumer? Yes, there is, but I also think there's a huge opportunity. This isn't easy, by the way. There's a huge opportunity if you can think creatively and package up what you're doing in a way that, and this is probably the key distinction, it has to be a no-brainer for the customer to say yes. I think the reason subscription works is because if there's more value for the customer than buying bespoke services, it makes sense for the customer. The reason I like to offer customers a discount or some kind of additional value to be on a subscription is because it's cheaper for me than raising an invoice and chasing money every time. So the admin overhead and the finance overhead that you'll save by having someone on a subscription allows you to offer them some additional value or a discount to reward them to be on that subscription. And I think there are huge opportunities in the B2B space because no one's really doing it. But it does require some, creative thinking and some repackaging. One more question? Yeah, just here in the middle. I did. So the question is, I was in a WordPress consulting business before I moved into the product space, and did I do anything in terms of recurring revenue in the WordPress consulting space? And I did. I had a couple of clients who were on a high-end coaching program. So I got to a point where the only clients that I would talk to on the phone on a regular basis and give them advice were my coaching clients, and they would have scheduled calls throughout the month. I actually think, and I used to do this myself, there's a huge amount of time that you spend talking to clients and essentially coaching them over the phone to convince them that what you're doing is a good idea. And that try and do that with your accountant or your lawyer or your doctor and not get a bill, right? It just doesn't happen. You speak to your lawyer for 6 minutes and you'll get a bill. So I just think there's a huge opportunity to get some structure in there. And the other reason I like it is because when you give people advice that they're paying for, they're more likely to do something with it than if you give them free advice, because free advice hasn't cost them anything. There's no skin in the game. Cool. Hey, thank you very much for having me. I will be around for the rest of the day, but I just want to leave you with this parting thought. Stay curious and make some noise. Most people won't do anything about this kind of stuff because it does require a little bit of work, and that's why I think there's an opportunity for anyone who wants to step into this space, because most people are put in the too hard basket. And I'm not talking about you guys, I'm sure you all do something with it, but that's my parting thought for you. And you can download a complimentary ebook that goes along with this presentation there at revrev.me/Brisbane. And I'll be around for a little while, so if you want to have a chat, feel free to come up and ask me anything. Thank you.